Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name is Ross, and as always told, I had a voice radio. So today, we're going to be looking at Houndoom. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. There is a new Houndoom coming out in Lost Thunder, and there's quite a bit to like about Houndoom. I am finding in this set more than any others, the average card is a bit better. There are more cards I'm a little bit excited about playing around with in this set, and fewer cards that I'm just outright dismissing than there usually are when I sit down and have a look through these. So anyway, it has been revealed on the official Pokemon website over in Japan. It has been translated by the lovely David Hochmann, who is our preferred translator. I think I've made that fairly clear. Although great love to anyone else who's ever done a translation to help us out. I still love you all, of course. So it is a Stage 1 Fire Pokemon. Fire is good. You hit weakness on grass Pokemon like Golisopod, while also hitting weakness against Metal Pokemon like Duskmane Necrozma, which is very nice indeed. And I'm going to be honest, in Standard, you don't got great tricks. You got Heat Factory Prism Star, which allows you to discard a fire energy from your hand and draw 3. That's coming out in Lost Thunder. And then there's not really that much for fire Pokemon, though. If you go into Expanded, you got stuff like Blacksmith to accelerate energy, which is very nice. As it stands, it's alright. I mean, you've got stuff like Kiawe, but you're just not going to need to accelerate that much energy. Having said that, you're hitting good weaknesses. Retreat cost of 1 is nice because of Escape Board. Yes, I know I say that a lot, but I am expecting it to see a lot of play post-rotation. If it doesn't, I will, peel back my references a little bit. It's weak to water, which is great because, name me a good water deck at the moment. And 110 HP, little disappointing for a Stage 1. It means you're going to be one-hit KO'd by Zoroark and Golisopod, so it's a little bit low, but there ain't nothing we can do about it. So what does it do? Well, for 1 colorless energy, which means it can be put into any deck, search your deck for any 1 card and put it into your hand. Then shuffle your deck. This is fun. It's only a Stage 1. It's 1 colorless energy, and it's any card. So maybe you grab yourself something like a Cynthia, so you're up and rolling and ready to go next turn. Maybe you grab yourself something like a double colorless energy, because special energy are very difficult to actually search out in the game at the moment. Maybe you search yourself out a Rescue Stretcher to get some of your Pokemon back. I don't know. I'm not you. But it gives you a lot of options. Here's the problem, though. If you want to search out cards, we've kind of already got options. So the Gardevoir from Fairy Rise, which you are expecting to be in this set as well. That's got an attack for 1 Fairy Energy that lets you search for any free cards and put them into your hand. Now, there are a couple of fairly significant disadvantages when we look at Gardevoir. Firstly, you're a Stage 2. Being a Stage 2 is a pain. It's much more difficult to get into play. Secondly, it's for a Fairy Energy. Now, I know that Rainbow Energy exists, but generally speaking, this is not a techable card. Houndoom is a techable card. Gardevoir isn't. If you're playing a Fairy deck, this is way better than Houndoom. Heck, if you're playing a Gardevoir GX deck, this is a must-play. Otherwise, as much as Gardevoir's attack is way better than Houndoom's, you're not going to be able to use it a lot of the time. The thing is, we've got Steven's Resolve. Steven's Resolve allows you to search for any free cards and put them into your hand and your turn ends. Now, please don't be presuming that just because it gets free cards, it's magically 17 times as good as Houndoom. That's not true. Because, first of all, if you're playing Houndoom, you can play something like a Cynthia. You get your supporter for the turn, then you search for any free cards. Whereas with Steven's Resolve, you search for any free cards, but it ends your turn. You don't get any other supporter. That's a fairly large advantage. And secondly, you've got to have something in the active. So if you're using Steven's Resolve, there is a big question as to, okay, but what are you leaving in the active while you use it? Whereas Houndoom, alright, it's not the bulkiest Pokemon ever, but that's what you're leaving in the active. I still do think there is a reason to play this, even bearing in mind that Steven's Resolve is a thing, but Steven's Resolve is a thing. But I actually like the second attack even more here. The second attack for 2 Fire Energy says 50 damage. But if you have more cards in hand than your opponent, This attack does 80 more damage. Now you're hitting 130 for 2 energy, and 130 for 2 energy is great. Like, really, really good. Yeah, Zoroark hits 120 for 2 energy, and it is a double colorless, but it's also on a GX with a weakness to Buzzwole. So as an attacker, it's fine, but really, Zoroark is a combination of attack and trade. Now again, if you head to the expanded format and you can use stuff like Blacksmith, this becomes significantly better. If you can get 2 fire energy on here in 1 turn, that is a huge advantage. It's decent though when you get it rolling. Now 130, I mean, we kind of talked about this in a roundabout way at the beginning of the video when we talked about Houndoom's HP. But 130 and 120 is one of the big dividing lines in the game at the moment, along with 180 and 190. So there's a whole bunch of Pokemon out there that have 120 HP, like Moltres, for instance, that you'll be getting. But then there's a whole bunch of Pokemon with 130 HP, like Gardevoir, that you will also be getting. This is very nice. And then, of course, if you're hitting for weakness, you're up to 230. That's ignoring any other damage multipliers you might have. So a Metagross here is just going down. Metagross is like the biggest, baddest boy in the format, certainly in terms of HP. You could even mention Solgaleo, which again is a 250 HP GX. And both of them are going down in 1 hit to Houndoom without even having to bother playing something like a choice band. This is good. This is very good. Now, as for having to have more cards in your hand than your opponent, I mean, there are things you can do about this. You can play something like Acrobike, which does give you an extra card in hand. You could even maybe end up playing supporter cards that draw cards like Sophocles, which is an example, or even Whitney that we looked at the other day. And certainly Whitney, when you've got 3 Whitney in the discard pile, the 4th Whitney draws you 7 cards. It draws you 1 card plus 2 for each Whitney in your discard pile. So if you're Houndoom here, then you play your 4th Whitney, draw 7 cards. You've probably got more cards in hand than your opponent, and that's really good. The problem is, what happens if you've got 5 cards in hand and your opponent's got 4, and you really want to bench another Pokemon, or attach another energy, or attach an escape board to one of your Pokemon? That is an issue, because then you have to make the choice between playing that card that you want to play or doing the extra damage. And most of the time, doing the extra damage is going to win. So this is an attack which is going to make you sometimes not use cards that you want to use, which is a little bit of a pain. The other thing we need to mention here is that if you're not hitting for weakness and you're hitting a GX, you're not quite doing enough. Now, it's better than it used to be, because 130 out of Choice Band, 160, fine, you're getting Marshadow, but that really is the only one you're getting. But then, of course, we come to our old friend Shrine of Punishment, which I will start mentioning less in videos when it stops being so good. But seeing as it was one of the most impactful cards at the World Championship, I think I'm within my rights to mention it in most of my videos at the moment. It's like Choice Band. It's that good. I'm not saying it's quite as good as Choice Band, but I'm saying that it is looking like it's going to be crazy impactful. Anyway, so as soon as you put down a Shrine of Punishment, it puts 1 damage counter on each EX and GX between turns, which means that you're essentially doing 170 now. There's a Tapu Lele. And as soon as another damage counter goes down, you're up to 180, there's a Rayquaza. And as soon as another damage counter goes down, there's a Buzzwole. And fine, maybe your opponent finds a Field Blower, maybe your opponent plays their own stadium. Those things can happen, and they will happen sometimes. But sometimes they won't. And the great thing about Shrine of Punishment is, you can kind of put it down in the early game, and just let damage counters accrue. And then maybe your opponent drops a Field Blower early game to get rid of it, but then in the late game they don't have a Field Blower ready. It's not quite doing enough damage, but the energy cost is low. It's on a non-GX and it's got a decent first attack. Neither of these attacks on Houndoom are amazing, but they're very interesting. Certainly in a pre-release, this is going to be a beast for the second attack. I mean, don't play many basics, try and mulligan a few times, don't play too many cards, and then just sit there being like, 130 a turn. That could be fun. I like Houndoom, but I'm not sure any part of it is amazing. I'm going to be giving it between 2 and 3 wussies. We don't give half wussies, that would be barbaric. I like the first attack, I like the second attack, but there are downsides with both of them, so that seems fair. But if you disagree with me, great news. There is a comment section, so might I please suggest you go nuts, while respectfully requesting that you be nice. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at the Wasi, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all of that, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. But by far the most important thing, as always, is to look after yourselves until next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.